notebook?
Here's an overview of what we'll be discussing about the engineering notebook. We will cover what it actually is, the different formats you can use to document it, the multiple sections you can break it up into, the awards that require it, resources to look back at when you start your engineering notebook, and lastly, tips to improve your engineering notebook.
Okay, so what is an engineering notebook? The engineering notebook is a documentation of the team's journey throughout the season. In your engineering notebook, you have your team's engineering design process in it. Also, everything that goes into making your robot, you can put that in your engineering notebook. When problems arise, the ways your team looks at solving them, and the testing you do, and the final solutions are important to put in your notebook. Judges love to see your drawings, and it's an easy way to show your team your ideas, so definitely have drawings in your notebook. And the three things judges will look at competitions are your interview with them, your robot performance, and your engineering notebook. So the engineering notebook is definitely really important.
Formatting pros and cons. There are many pros and cons that come with each of the two formatting options. Make sure you weigh the benefits of each before deciding which your team is going to use. The online pros is that doing your notebook online is much easier for sharing and can be reached on different devices and worked on at the same time. It also tends to have a more polished look and you can correct mistakes much easier. Handwritten comes with many pros as well. Sometimes even though there's not supposed to be a bias, some judges will prefer a handwritten notebook over an online. When we have asked in the past why this is, we often get the response that they feel that an online notebook can be done overnight and a handwritten shows that you did not do it at the last minute. With everything comes cons. The cons for having an online notebook are having connection issues and having the document load slow. Handwritten notebooks are tricky to keep organized because there's little room for things to change, and once something is done, you can't move it around.
Okay, so for the online engineering notebook, you can do it in like two basic places. You can do it in like Microsoft Word or any other typing sort of application, or you can do it in Google Drive. So for Microsoft Word, it's a lot easier to print. Google Drive is really difficult to print. You also don't need Wi-Fi to connect to it, so you can edit your notebook whenever you want. But the thing about Microsoft Word is that it's a lot harder to share, and you have to use a USB or something. And it can only be viewed and used by one person at a time, so you can have one person working on it, and it takes a lot longer to get done. But it's easier to do tricky page numbers. For Google Drive, it can be shared really easily. You can share it with all your team members' personal accounts, and they can all edit it. Multiple people can edit it, so me and Kareem could be on at the same time. She could be doing like community outreach, and I could be doing the business plan. You can store your pictures and other presentations for your team in your Google Drive, so if you need anything, you can pull it into your notebook and have it right there. But it takes a lot of time to load, and you need Wi-Fi. So when our team would practice after school, we don't get Wi-Fi until like 4:30, so we'd have to wait a little bit until we could get Wi-Fi, so that was definitely a bad thing.
Handwritten notebooks. If you plan on doing a handwritten notebook, you might need multiple notebooks to have a thorough one that the judges are looking for. To keep organized, you can get a different one for every section. Make sure your writing is readable, but don't cover blemishes because judges like to see the real thing. You can get photos printed so then the judges can also see your robot evolve over the season. Make sure all writing is done in pen and you cross off empty space. If one of your added in pieces, a picture or a drawing, falls out, you should, before that, you should outline it so then you can see that it did fall out.
The required sections stated by first can be broken into three parts. We're going to go into more detail about all the sections in the notebook, but these are just like the basic ones. So there's the cover of your engineering notebook, your summary page, which is attached to the front, and inside is the engineering section, the team section, and the business plan. And even with these three, you'll have more subsections. So like community outreach or like about your team, more team stuff.
The cover. First has two simple requirements for the cover of your engineering notebook, your team name and your team number. But to make your notebook stand out and for it to be more helpful for you in the future, you can put your team logo, pictures, sponsors, the or from the season or year the notebook is, and lasted the season or year the notebook is from for future reference.
So next is the summary page, and the summary page is very important. You don't know what the judges are going to look at in your notebook, but they will look at your summary page. It needs to be one page that's filled out with stuff that you think is most important about your team, and where they can find other important information in your notebook, so you can guide them to pictures of your robot or your community outreach. Include what your school or organization, what you're part of. Also have highlights of your season, both your robot season right now or your off season, so stuff you did during the summer. Have key pieces of designing your robot and what community outreach events that you thought most impacted people. To make it easier for judges, you can tab 6 to 8 of your most important pages and then put their numbers in the summary, so then the judges will know what to look at. If you're going for a certain award, so maybe the FTC Design Award, make sure you tab the best pages in your notebook where it shows your CAD drawings.
The engineering section. The engineering section is where you record all your brainstorming, prototyping, design, and all the stages of the build of your robot. Every failure you have is just important to each successful recording. It should include all the important decisions you made from start to finish. Directly pull information from your meetings into your engineering section. If it's in the engineering section, judges should find it in your meeting notes. This is where judges will look for the majority of awards, including Inspire, Think, Rockwell Collins Innovate Award, FTC Design, and Control.
Okay, so next is where you document your meetings. So start every meeting off on a new page. It makes your notebook look a lot cleaner. Also, before the meeting starts, make sure someone gets going on setting up the notebook for that day's meeting. You need a date and a start and end time on the meeting page. You can also include a list of which members were there and what they did, so that's important. At the end of the meeting section, we always have tasks and reflections. So before anyone gets going on the meeting, you need to set goals that you want to achieve for that day's practice. And then at the end, you reflect and see what you did and what you didn't do. We have a chart, which you can see up there for our tasks and then our status, so then we know what to do at the next meeting. And just remember, the notebook isn't just for the judges. You should use it as a reference for your team, so you know what worked and what didn't work, and that's basically it. So it will really help your team if you just use it for yourselves as well as the judges.
Judges like to see a bio of everyone in your team in the team section. This can also be helpful if you plan on sharing your engineering notebook with other professionals so they can get to know the team. There should be one for every member, including your mentors. Consider adding in pictures so it makes it easier to connect a name to a face. A few more good things to add are your age, your grade, your years and first. Lastly, if you have any other hobbies, activities, or sports that you participated in outside of robotics.
Community outreach can also be included in your team section, but it will get pretty big if you do a lot of outreach. Our team does a lot of outreach, and our community outreach section was a lot bigger than the rest of our team section. For every outreach event that you did, you put what you did, where it was, and a description of how it went, and definitely put the impact of the impact you had on the people, because that's what the judges were looking for. And then put which team members attended and how much time you spent on the event. So you can see an example up there.
The business plan. You can choose to include your mission statement in your business plan, or you can put it in a different section, but make sure you have one. You should cover what events or outreach you did to fundraise, and include any and all companies who sponsored you. All expenses should be documented. Some of the many things of this may include registration fees for tournaments, travel, laptops, programs, robot and build equipment, marketing, pitch showcasing, and outreach. In conclusion, put what goals and plans your team has for the future and how you're going to meet them, including what your plans for sustainability of the team are.
You might be asking yourself why you should more about what the judges want for awards, just go to the game manual part 1, and that can help.
So yeah, these are the resources that we just mentioned. The game manual part 1 is really helpful when you look for requirements of the engineering notebook. And Google is your friend. Find veteran teams and check out who won the Think Award in past years to find really good examples of engineering notebooks and everything that goes inside them. Check the forums for updates or rule changings. And if you have any questions, use it as a resource.
So here are some tips for you. Keep a detailed notebook, because if you're going to go back in your notebook and it's really vague, you want to know what you did before so you don't do it again. So that's important. Also, keep your notebook organized. If you have a messy notebook, you're never going to find anything. Everyone should take turns contributing to the notebook so it looks like it was a team effort and not just one person did it by themselves. And put all your ideas in the notebook, even if you think they're not that good. Just put them in there for later reference. Maybe they'll help you in a different season. Update your notebook every single practice. If you get off track on updating your notebook, you're going to have a lot of work to do before competition. And set aside time at the end to get it done. Because again, you don't want to do your notebook for last week at this week's practice. Does anyone have any questions?
You mentioned on the handwritten notebook that you have to have the X's take up space on the bottom. Do you have to do that in online notebooks as well?
We personally do. It's like we don't really see the point in it exactly, but we do follow through with that. So once we get it printed, we take it and we do the square, rectangle, and then just do the X out.
And we're not sure if you have to, so you can just check the manual for that, but we do it. So.
Which one did you guys use, like the Google Drive or like?
Yeah, we use Google Drive, and then right before competition, we put it into Microsoft Word so we can print it easier.
Yeah, it was easier for us to print because the place we printed it at, it was we couldn't print it off Google Drive, so we'd have to transfer it over, and a couple things would get messy. So we don't really recommend that, but if you do have to do it, you just have to want to make sure that you check before you print, because when in that transfer, some pictures might get messed up, some charts might get messed up, so make sure you look before you print.
How do you guys get your sketches and drawings onto your Google Drive? Do you take pictures of it? Do you scan?
Yeah, so we'll take a picture of something with our phone, and then we'll email it to our drive, so then you can just save it to your drive from there and put it in your notebook.
Okay. And then a follow-up question on that. How do you? What I like about Drive is that you can have lots of people add to it all at the same time. But one of the problems with it is that it's really hard to be able to track through time how things. When did we make that change? I can't remember. Was it before we talked about this, or was it after? Or was it before break or after break? Because it's hard to see when things are on a paper notebook. You start each day and you put the date on, and so you can see how things. How do you solve that, or do you not?
Yeah, so for our meetings, we have a new page with all our ideas each day. We have a meeting, so it's just like the handwritten notebook. We're just typing it out instead. And we have a new page and we date everything so we know when we did stuff. So we don't go back and change what we did at meetings. We just keep it and add a new page for a new day.
So you're saying you start with a handwritten page and then you turn that into an online document?
What we'll often do is we'll use the whiteboard in the shop and we'll write down what are our tasks and then what are our reflections, and then from the whiteboard we'll copy that into the notebook.
We'll type it out.
Did you photograph that? Did you guys think about that?
Yeah, when we have big lists, sometimes we will just photograph that and put it in. We just find it easier to type it in, but we've had long lists on whiteboards sometimes that we just take pictures of.
Yeah, for our tasks and reflections, we want to keep it consistent that we type it every week. So we just type that, but if we have a list of improvements we want to make, we'll maybe take a picture, put it in there for later reference.
As far as keeping the team so that this has to be equal for the notebook, do you usually have a collaborative meeting at the end where everybody shares their ideas and then we assign
broken up into 3 sections. We have manipulator, drive, and then programming. So what we usually have is after that, we usually have a paragraph where if we need any more information, we'll have, okay, so here's a picture of our first base design, and we'll add that in. And so that will be underneath like the drive, and then programming team, the couple people on that will go in. You can have all 3 of them, or like however many people worked on programming all enter, or you can just assign one. But make sure that it's not just one person entering, and you at least have a couple people every time. You don't have to have everyone in your team enter every meeting, but a couple people.
Yeah, so we do like a comment section basically under our chart. So the chart keeps us organized, and then the comments are what we're going to need for the future.
Has your team ever won any of the awards based on the engineering notebook?
At state last year, we won the Think Award. So.
And is your engineering notebook from last year online somewhere?
We have it up here, and then we don't have it online, but
yeah, it's up here. So if anyone wants to come look at it, you can go ahead and feel free to do that.
And then we will also be having this presentation. We're videotaping it, and it will be on our website.
I'm just like tracking your process, and I'm really interested in understanding. You start your meeting with a page, but then you actually fill it in at the end of the meeting when you pull somebody from each of your 3 areas, or you have somebody who throughout the meeting is also sort of serving as the secretary.
Okay, so what we do is we have our page. We fill out like the date, which team members are there.
We fill out what's up there.
We fill that out except end time, and then we fill out our tasks and then the strategy that supports the task, so we know what we need to accomplish during practice. And then we have our practice, and then at the end of practice, we fill out our status on all of those, and then comments of what happened during the day.
And we recommend that if someone finishes a task, that they don't wait till the end, but if they have time, that they just go right into the engineering notebook. And I was engineering notebook captain this past season, so I was kind of making sure everyone got their part done. So I bugged them about it and make sure that they actually did go back in and write everything down. Any more questions?
What's the signature part of that?
Well, the signature is just to make sure like that our team, like everyone contributes to the notebook, and just so like in a handwritten one, like the one we had, there was a place for a signature where you like sign your name, so we just added that to our online one.
So whoever contributed to it with their name?
Yeah, like whoever set it up that day does the signature.
Was this, when you won state last year, was that your first time, or have you done it several times?
Our first year, so this will be our 3rd year in FTC. So our first year we did handwritten, and then last year was our first time as an online notebook.
What's something that you have found really helpful that a lot of teams, that you haven't seen a lot of other teams do?
I'd probably say just make sure you get on it right away, because like we really find it helpful to have like the tasks at the beginning. So if you just write down what you did at the end, but then you don't really have that plan in the beginning. But having that plan in the beginning really helps you just get more done during practice. So.
It was also helpful that we had like an engineering notebook captain who like focused on the engineering notebook, but like everyone contributed to meetings, but the captain like kept the format and did other stuff like the business plan, and that was definitely really helpful to have like a successful notebook where one person like devoted their robotics time to do that, so that it looked nice and professional.
Also make sure
but she did a lot of work with the robot and building it. And like another person on our team is like the design captain, but she also did a ton of work on the robot. So we just have like specific captains to make sure stuff gets done, but they don't do everything.
So you have done both paper and online versions of the notebook?
Mm-hmm.
What style of notebook are you gonna do this year?
I think we're gonna be continuing with the online. There will be some changes from last year, but yeah, we'll be keeping it online.
Yeah, you just need to see what fits your team the best. Online is good for us, but handwritten is definitely what other teams like to do and what they need to do.
When you say they need to do it, what do you mean? They just don't have maybe the internet, or they don't have some of the things that you guys have access to, or?
Yeah, at the school they did have Wi-Fi, but let's say you at your meeting space that you had planned out, you don't have that connection, or you don't want to have to spend the money to print it all because that was really expensive for us. So if you it can be a cheaper option to just get the notebooks. So
Where
or
did
if
you
you
print it again? Where did you?
we have some of our mentors work at Thomson Reuters, so they had a connection there that we could print it there.
Do you find that engineering notebook is well organized? Does that help you with your presentation in front of the judges?
Mm-hmm.
And then if so, do you actually use it, or do you hand it over to them prior when you're meeting?
Yeah, so when you go in to do your interview, so we have our notebook out in front of us, and depending on the judges, some judges will want to have it and they'll look through it themselves, but other judges will let you like open it up, and then we had different tabs that we would go to. So there'd be everyone on our team, like the programming captain would have a specific spot in the notebook that they'd flip open to, and then they would be able to use it as a guide through their presentation. So we found that really helpful to use tabs and make sure you tab the really important pieces that you want the judges to see, because if you don't tab them, there's a really good possibility